Hey guys, Extra here, doing another video. I said in the description of the last video that if it got 100 views I'd record the next one from the bed, and it got like 200 views in 2 days, which is kind of insane. I didn't really expect that many, so yeah, enjoy. In this video I wanted to sort of talk about playing against a strong opponent who you've never had to play against before. And I think Oz Smash post-COVID is in a really weird position where this doesn't happen very often, because we have very few majors. We've had BAM and Phantom, and I guess you'd count Queensland Rennie, kind of. It's more of a regional. And on the other hand, we have a lot of locals. We have a shit ton of locals. Most states have multiple weeklies, at least two, plus a monthly or two. And so yeah, what sort of happens when you attend a lot of weeklies is that you fight the same people over and over, and whether consciously or subconsciously, you start to sort of get an idea of their habits. Like you sort of understand what options they do in disadvantage, when to go in, when to hang back, what reads they go for, even things like tech chasing habits. You sort of get a read on just by playing people over and over. And so when you fight someone at a major, you basically, unless you've really studied them, you basically don't know any of that. And like, yeah, you can prepare for opponents in your bracket, but it's very common for upsets to happen. And when upsets happen, you'll be playing someone who you probably just have no idea about. You might not have thought they'd end up in your bracket at all. And so it's really important to distinguish what to do against someone who, yeah, you have no info on. And I think what a lot of players do is they overthink things. They think too much about the fact that they don't know what the other player is going to do. But you can sort of spin that and rephrase it as, you don't know what they're going to do, but they don't know what you're going to do either. And I started sort of thinking about that concept a little while ago, and it sort of gave me a little bit more confidence in my playstyle. I think going from that, what you have to sort of understand is, one, why you win, and two, why your character wins. Against someone you've never played before, I think it's okay to be a little bit more shameless with stuff like knowledge checks. As an example, as a Game & Watch player, if I fight someone with Game & Watch and I'm pretty sure they don't have much experience, I kind of crutch on up B a little bit more than I otherwise would, like up B out of shield, doing stuff like cross-up dash attack to up B, which is super obnoxious, a really like knowledge checky thing. Like you get your shield dash attacked and you go for a grab, and I've just crossed you up and I mash up B and then I get a combo. Sort of stuff like that, where the counterplay isn't quite as obvious, or just like little tricks, things that are hard to react to. Again, another good example is the J-Dizzle down tilt spot dodge. If you're overthinking things going into a set with a good player, you might think like, there's no way that works. They'll know that down tilt is safe, they'll know that they can't shield grab down tilt. But in the heat of the moments, you just have to trust that, you know, maybe that'll happen. If you think that they're panicking, if you think that maybe they don't have as much experience, or even if you've sort of tested the waters by like down tilting their shield a couple of times, then yeah, you might just have the confidence to go with it. So yeah, I guess the main thing is, don't overthink things as well. Your opponent has to prove that they can beat the things that your character does well. Now that's not to say that you should just fish for stuff, like without really thinking. Like let's say you're playing Luigi, even the, like, I don't want to be harsh, but even like an O2er, if you say you're playing Luigi, they'll be like, alright, I need to not get grabbed. So if you go into a match and you just spam grab, I mean, maybe you'll win, but that's not really the right approach to sort of thinking, like, playing to your character's strengths, right? Instead, I think you want to try and look for opportunities to sort of execute your win condition. So rather than going in, like, swinging and grabbing, you sort of want to just be watching your opponent, saying, okay, they might shield here, they might do a fast fall air dodge out of disadvantage, they might, like, drift directly on top of me and press a button, which is just like free up Bs or whatever. And yeah, basically just like looking out for those 1 or 2 moments where you can execute on your, like, game plan and your win condition and actually, like, close out those stocks. Another thing I think you should consider is, against people who you've never played against, winning or losing a game is not a big deal. I think a lot of people, especially when they're going into, like, a set, they might be a little bit nervous, and then game 1 doesn't really go your way. They might have a style that's a little bit unconventional. They might, I don't know, they might have just gotten lucky a couple times. They might have gotten a couple lucky reads and killed you at 60. That's just how the game goes. What's important from losing games, especially in best of 3s, is keeping your cool and understanding why you lost. Because if you aren't really thinking about, like, why you lost in, like, a very, like, a close set, then you're really just getting in your own head and you're not giving yourself the opportunity to really just, like, actually make a comeback. So yeah, in those sets, often it's just really important to keep a clear head, sort of try and get the most out of a loss as you can, because yeah, like, winning or losing a game, it really doesn't matter. Even some people, they'll win game 1 and then lose game 2 and then freak out, and you really, like, shouldn't be doing that. You should just be going in and just sort of calmly analysing, choosing your stage picks correctly, because yeah, like I said, it's sort of like the set's not over until, like, you lose 2 games. So if you think about that, like, losing 1 game doesn't mean you've lost. On the other hand as well, winning a game doesn't mean you've won either. I sort of made this mistake against Fried Rice at BAM, where I was up 2-1, we were on Town and City, and I took the first stock, and then in my head I was just like, alright, this is kind of over, let's get this over with. And in reality, I should have been not approaching, I should have been playing to time probably. We almost timed out on Smashville, for God's sake. And really testing his patience. But instead I sort of went in, I let him get a really easy stock, and he did take it to game 5. In the end, I ended up winning, but it was closer than it should have been. Just because, again, I sort of got careless. I assumed that being up 2-1, being up a stock, meant that it was sort of it was a given that I won. And yeah, I got patience checked. Last thing as well is what I want to talk about is you really have to sort of test your opponent when you've never played them before. If your character has high mobility, you want to try and outpace them. If your character has strong defensive options, you want to make sure they can't get around those defensive options. If your opponent, if you have a stock lead on your opponent, or a percent lead even, like a large percent lead, you want to force them to approach. You don't want to always be playing their game. If you constantly go in, even when you don't have a percent lead, even if it's a campy character, then they're going to be a lot more confident in their ability to actually make a comeback, because they don't have to think about what if the opponent doesn't approach. Even if your ability to, like, camp them back isn't as good, you still need to test them in that sense. You need to test their patience. You need to test their willingness to play the long game. And if you don't do that, if you don't sort of put that mental pressure on the opponent, then that just sort of means you're putting more mental pressure on yourself, it feels like. So yeah, that's sort of about all I wanted to talk about in this video. Hopefully I'll have them out a little bit more frequently. I wanted to do this one a little bit sooner, but I got the fucking flu, which sucked. So yeah, also if you guys want me to talk about any topics, I have a fair few lined up that I want to talk about, but yeah, if you want me to talk about something, let me know. I'll sort of see what I can do. I'll probably do the ones I want to do first, and then we'll see how it goes. Alright, thanks fellas.